President has approved a 28-point plan for peace between
Trump's peace plan amounts to a wish list for Moscow.
President Trump has urged Ukraine to accept his plan aimed at ending the war with Russia.
Why this peace plan won't save Ukraine? Everyone wants peace in Ukraine. The killing has to stop. Nearly 4 years of war, hundreds of thousands dead, entire cities reduced to rubble. Of course, peace is the answer. But what if the peace plan on the table right now doesn't end the war? What if it just pauses it? What if this peace is actually a death sentence for Ukraine? Let me show you why. In November 2025, the Trump administration presented a 28-point peace proposal to end the war. On paper, it sounds reasonable. Immediate ceasefire, demilitarized zones, security guarantees, reconstruction funding. But here's what the plan actually demands from Ukraine. Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk officially recognized as Russian territory. Not disputed, not frozen, Russian, forever. Kherson and Zaporizhia frozen along current battle lines, which means Russia keeps most of what it conquered. The parts of Donetsk that Ukraine still controls, Ukraine has to withdraw. Those areas become a demilitarized buffer zone, internationally recognized as belonging to Russia. Ukraine's military capped at 600,000 troops, no NATO membership, ever. And here's the kicker. Ukraine has to pay the United States for security guarantees. Pay. For protection that may or may not actually come. Trump called it a really good deal. Ukrainian officials are negotiating. European leaders are cautiously optimistic. Russia hasn't rejected it outright. So what's the problem? The problem is we've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. Let's rewind to 1994. Ukraine had just gained independence from the Soviet Union. It inherited 1,900 nuclear warheads, the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. The United States, Russia, and the UK approached Ukraine with a deal. Give up your nukes. In exchange, we guarantee your sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. It was called the Budapest Memorandum. Ukraine's leaders were nervous. They specifically worried about Russia. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Anatoly Zelenko warned that Russia might one day try to reclaim Ukrainian territory. U.S. Secretary of State James Baker reportedly lost his temper, telling Zelenko that appropriate actions would be taken if Ukraine didn't cooperate. So Ukraine signed. By 1996, every nuclear warhead was gone. Ukraine was defenseless, but protected, guaranteed. Fast forward to 2014. Russia invaded Crimea and annexed it. A direct violation of the Budapest Memorandum. Ukraine called for help from its guarantors. The response? Economic sanctions against Russia, some military aid, but no intervention, no protection. The guarantees were worthless. Then in February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion. Again, Ukraine called for help. Again, sanctions and aid. But Ukraine had to fight alone. President Zelensky said it plainly in February 2022. Ukraine has tried 3 times to convene consultations with the guarantor states of the Budapest Memorandum. 3 times without success. 5 days later, Russia invaded. But there's an even older precedent, September 1938. Nazi Germany demanded the Sudetenland, a region of Czechoslovakia. Britain and France brokered a deal. Give Germany the Sudetenland, and Hitler promises peace. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain returned to London waving the agreement, declaring peace for our time. Czechoslovakia had no choice. Its allies betrayed it. The Sudetenland was handed over. 6 months later, Hitler occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. 1 year after that, World War II began. The peace agreement didn't prevent war. It just gave Hitler time to prepare for the next invasion. Are you seeing the pattern? Russia took Crimea in 2014. The West did nothing. Russia learned it could invade without real consequences. So in 2022, it invaded again, bigger, bolder. Now imagine this peace plan goes through. Russia keeps Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Ukraine's military is capped. No NATO membership. What happens in 5 years? 10 years? When Russia has rebuilt its military, when Ukraine is still weak and isolated, when the West has moved on to other crises. Russia invades again, takes more territory, and the cycle repeats. This isn't peace, it's a timeout, a chance for Russia to reload. Putin has made his intentions clear. In June 2025, he said publicly, "Russians and Ukrainians are one people. All of Ukraine is ours." Not some of Ukraine, all of it. The peace plan doesn't address this. It doesn't change Russia's goals. It just forces Ukraine to accept partial conquest now, with the promise that maybe, possibly, the West will help if Russia attacks again later. But we already know those promises are empty. Budapest proved it. Let's talk about the security guarantees in Trump's plan. They're described as NATO-style or Article 5-like. That means if Russia attacks again, the US and European countries would come to Ukraine's defense. Sounds good. Except Ukraine already had security guarantees in 1994. Russia violated them twice, and the guarantors did nothing. Why would this time be different? Trump himself has been inconsistent on Ukraine. He's praised Putin, questioned NATO's value, suggested Ukraine should make territorial concessions. European leaders are nervous about American commitment, especially if Trump's administration changes in 4 years. And the plan requires Ukraine to pay for these guarantees, so Ukraine gives up territory, limits its military, abandons NATO hopes, and pays the US for protection that might not materialize. Meanwhile, Russia keeps conquered land, faces gradually lifted sanctions, and gets to rebuild without pressure. Who benefits from this deal? Not Ukraine. Here's what Ukrainian officials understand but can't say publicly. Accepting this peace plan legitimizes Russian conquest. It sends a message to the world that if you're strong enough, you can invade your neighbors, kill their people, destroy their cities, and eventually the international community will force your victim to accept it. It tells every nuclear-capable country, keep your nukes. Security guarantees are worthless. It tells every authoritarian regime, territorial conquest works. Just be patient. China is watching. If Russia gets away with taking Ukrainian territory, why shouldn't China take Taiwan? North Korea could invade South Korea. Iran could move against its neighbors. The precedent is catastrophic. But here's the tragedy. Ukraine might have no choice. Nearly 4 years of war have exhausted the country, hundreds of thousands killed, millions displaced, infrastructure destroyed. Western support is wavering, aid is slowing. Trump has made clear, accept the deal or lose American support entirely. European countries can't support Ukraine alone. Zelensky is trapped. So Ukraine faces an impossible choice. Accept a bad peace that guarantees future invasion or continue fighting with dwindling support and risk total collapse. This is what makes the peace plan so cruel. It's not really offering Ukraine peace, it's offering Ukraine a choice between slow death and fast death. There are 3 possible scenarios from here. Scenario 1, Ukraine accepts the plan, ceasefire takes effect, Russia keeps conquered territory. 5 to 10 years pass. Russia, having rebuilt and rearmed, invades again. This time takes Kyiv, Lviv, everything. Ukraine ceases to exist as an independent state. Scenario 2, Ukraine accepts the plan, but European countries, seeing what's coming, massively invest in Ukraine's defenses. They prepare for the next Russian invasion. When it comes, Ukraine is ready and holds the line. Russia's second invasion fails. Probability? Low. Europe has shown it will only act after disaster strikes, not before. Scenario 3. Ukraine rejects the plan. Fighting continues. More death, more destruction. But Ukraine holds out long enough for the geopolitical situation to shift. Maybe Russia's economy collapses. Maybe Putin falls. Maybe Europe steps up. This scenario offers a chance at real victory, but at catastrophic human cost. None of these scenarios are good. That's the reality of this war. There are no good options left. Only degrees of bad. But pretending that this peace plan solves anything is dangerous. It doesn't end the war. It pauses it. It rewards aggression. It abandons Ukraine. And it sets the stage for more wars, more conquest, more suffering. Chamberlain thought he achieved peace for our time in 1938. He gave Hitler the Sudetenland to prevent war. 1 year later, 60 million people were dead. The lesson of history is clear. Appeasing aggressors doesn't bring peace. It brings more war. Giving dictators what they want doesn't satisfy them. It encourages them. Putin doesn't want peace. He wants Ukraine. All of it. This plan just gives him time to prepare for the next phase. Ukrainian officials know this. That's why Zelensky said Ukraine needs real peace, not peace that will be broken by a third invasion. That's why Ukrainian negotiators are demanding enforceable guarantees, not vague promises. But the problem is simple. Enforceable guarantees require a willingness to enforce them, and the West has shown repeatedly that it's not willing. So we're heading toward one of those three scenarios: a peace deal that guarantees future invasion, a peace deal with preparations for war, or rejection and continued fighting. Whatever happens, one thing is certain: this isn't over. The war might pause, but it won't end. Not with this plan, not with these terms, not while Putin remains in power with imperial ambitions. The real question isn't whether Ukraine should accept this peace plan. The real question is whether the West is willing to let Russia redraw borders through conquest. Because if the answer is yes, then every authoritarian regime on Earth just got a green light. If the answer is no, then this peace plan needs to be fundamentally rewritten to actually deter Russian aggression, not just postpone it. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And right now, we're hearing echoes of 1938. The question is, will we learn from history this time, or repeat it? If this made you think differently about the peace plan, subscribe. Comment with your take. Should Ukraine accept or reject the deal? And remember, sometimes the hardest decisions are between bad and worse. See you next time.